Something big happened a week ago, and I've been reflecting upon this crossing over, if you will, as a way of thinking of things to the other side, which is last week, Monday evening, I took my second degree black belt test and I was able to pass. And this past week has been definitely a time of integration, more healing of the body. Was so sore afterwards. I think after rewatching the videos, it looked like the whole test probably was close to 27 minutes of just various techniques that started from knees to standing to weapon work to one attacker, two attackers, and three attackers. Um, so some of the biggest takeaways I want to share because there's so many parallels I have found in martial arts practice and meditation practice. And the biggest one, hindsight 2020, is shortly going into my training of preparing for my second degree black belt. I was trying to utilize the same template that I had from first degree in the training format, the consistency, how often or regular I would train. And I was bringing that into the dojo, the structure that I was operating from to try to reach my second degree black belt. And the interesting thing that I really want you guys to hear is the first degree black belt template got me first degree. And so I realized maybe halfway through the journey that the first degree black belt template wouldn't be able to allow me to reach my second degree black belt because they were two different things. And even though the first degree gave me a great foundation of where to start, I really had to discover for myself what I needed in this second degree preparation and training to get me to second degree. And it was definitely confusing at times because it's very easy when we haven't been to where we want to go, this place of the unknown, that everyone has their ideas of what you should do. Oh, you should go bring a backpack. Oh, you should wear a jacket. Oh, you should wear these kind of shoes. Oh, you shouldn't wear that. You should wear shorts. And oh, you don't need to pack any snacks. And oh, this much water is fine. So everyone had their own idea of what I needed to get to second degree black belt. That came from all the teachers as well as M.A.Y, which were my senior students, their journey and their wish and want to try to share their insight with me, which I appreciated. And so what I found is I had to be open minded and open hearted to be receptive to hear these various different ideas. But then I needed to take them upon myself to practice them to see if it was true for me. And this is very real with regards to meditation practice. We receive teachings from teachers, other meditation practitioners of what has worked for them. And we have to be open minded, open hearted to receive it and then take it and test it out in our own lives to see if there's some credence, if there's some value, if there's some actual result that comes with it. See if we can maybe replicate something of that sort, the sense of it for ourselves. And the other component piece in the journey of second degree black belt is constantly tuning in to what I needed in the sense of mind body balance because it was so easy to spin on the hamster wheel pushing out all this busyness and action of repetition and moving through all the techniques over and over again. It was very easy to do that. After class, okay, let's go through more techniques that is going to be asked on my curriculum for the test. But I found myself that in the repetition, it would exhaust my body and deplete it to the point where I actually found myself having a diminishing return. I was not building my body system up towards success, and actually, I was degrading it. I was exhausting it. And how my body told me I was out of balance because my mind is very stubborn, and I can be very stubborn. Is pain. Pain is a wonderful tool and teacher. So that came with one fractured toe. And then it's okay, you're kaput. You have to go heal your body and just stay off the meditation martial arts mat, I should say. And then it was back onto the mat, noticing the ego stories that were running in the back of my mind. Because after my first injury of clearly being out of balance in my training, what happened? I go back onto the mat and I felt the pressure and the stress. Probably a lot of it was self induced. I'm falling behind to catch up. I'm so far behind. I have to rush, 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 push more in trying to catch up to where I felt like I had left off and the time I had lost in my injury and recovery to get back to where I was. Which, lo and behold, next thing you know, the body, I guess, likes balance, and sometimes in not in morbid ways, I ended up fracturing the other toe on the other foot, which is so ironic. And when that happened, internally, there was genuinely a sense of surrender. It was like throwing my hands up. It's like, oh, universe, what do you want from me? And it gets me teary eyed when I say that and emotional because I felt like I was doing the right things and trying to give my best and pushing myself in these ways physically. But clearly, I wasn't listening, right, to the messages that were being shown to me. And with the second fractured toe, as I was resting and in pain and drained of energy because pain zaps your body like that, exhausted and can't even think of completing any kind of task, let alone a second degree black belt test. It's just like it's so the ego finally and the mind finally goes into this place of surrender, right? Because everything feels hopeless. Hopeless because you think, I'm doing my homework, I'm checking in, and all that, and I'm still getting an F grade. So there's obviously a lot of frustration, piece, but it wasn't in this educational, school platform. It was on the martial arts mat. So it was this surrender of like, okay, clearly I am pushing my own personal agenda onto this thing and not allowing the pieces and the events and the energies and the situation to play out on their own. Really subtle piece of how we can communicate energetically and intuitively in our lives, in our path and practice, because our mind and our ego very easily and quickly wants to put an agenda of how fast we should get there, what time it should happen, and the exact date that it's going to manifest itself. Whatever that goal may be in your life that you're trying to achieve. And the surrender place that I got to and this hopeless place was really, really my way of offering it up to universe and eternity is like, okay, thy will be done. You will clearly have me do my test when I'm ready and when that time is the appropriate time. And personal confession around this agenda of trying to meet a specific deadline was not out of blame, but it can sound like blaming my sensei. He's like, it's going to be the date for your test, so be ready. So there was this push, push, push. But the other component was the competitive nature was another peer that was also testing, not for second degree, but actually for third degree black belt. And so because we show up on the martial arts mat together and we train after in class, it was kind of this side periphery perspective of like, oh, they're doing that. Oh, I've got to do this too. Oh, they're doing that. I got to do this. So it was very much this com- competition, and that was a really great point of reflection when the injuries happen of recognizing that we are on our own timeline for our own growth and spiritual awakening. And it becomes very apparent in a meditation community as well as in a martial arts community because I was actually supposed to take the second degree black belt test with not only the lady that was supposed to take third, but another friend of mine that was supposed to go also for her second. So we were supposed to be actually doing it together. And of course, she had injuries to deal with and so forth like that in life that at this point in time still hasn't taken her test, despite the support and encouragement to take it. She might not take it until quite possibly next year, just because of life events that are happening. It's a great realization that even though we want deeply for our friends to travel with us, the friends we've made along the way in spiritual community and or in a martial arts dojo, everyone's journey is completely unique and individual to them. And even though there might be beautiful meeting points of where we can congregate and share experiences together, inevitably, as the martial arts dojo had shown me, as much as I wanted my friend to take second degree black belt test with me, she hadn't put in the time and the injuries. She was not physically ready and would be unable legitimately to take her test. And I think that's something that I had a grasp in the journey of second degree black belt of despite it having a community involvement of support and sharing and guiding of me being able to get my second degree black belt, it was also a very individualistic and up leveling of my system. So recognizing one of the big, beautiful benefits from my first degree black belt was the consistency I had put into practicing as well as the discipline of the training. Those two pieces I took away in being able to support me to get my second degree because the consistency and the discipline created this structure that allowed me to transfer this structure onto this path and practice of second degree black belt and essentially allow the energies of power to move through that in different ways, in ways that it would look like how it looked like for the second degree black belt. So I share those pieces with you today because wherever you are on your path and practice, once we reach a certain summit, a certain plateau, a certain level of accomplishment, it's easy to want to take that same template and use it to replicate the next peak that you want to summit. And I'm saying, probably not the best idea. That's not to say you can't take pieces from that template to support you in climbing your next summit, right? Maybe some of the tools that you use in the first degree black belt still apply and you can use them in your tools for your next, you know, peak summit. And allowing yourself to have clarity for what is right for you and ways that work for you is a huge empowering piece because once you have clarity on that, then it's the implementation of demonstrating it through the boundaries, through your communication, through your behavior, right? I remember one of the black belts I was training with, he's first degree, and he had just the most tremendous big heartedness of wanting to support me in my practice. So he would mention, author, whenever you have time, time after class, I'm happy to train with you. How long? I'm here, for you. You can use my body, and do all the techniques. And he was so generous in his offering that I had to find the clarity and the truth for me of what was right for me. Because after coming out of balance in my own body and having injuries, it no longer served my highest after every class to train for 1 to 2 hours. There were days that I was like, nope, I just need to do rest time when I and go home. Or tonight I don't need to do the whole run through. Maybe I just do a little bit. And I had to speak up and hold my boundaries around what was right for me. Because at the end of the day, it was going to be my test. And they were the ones that were essentially there to support it. And that was a interesting new learning for me because I definitely have people pleasing behaviors and all the social conditionings of being female and saying, okay, especially when you're a martial arts dojo with majority guys that are telling you what you should do and how you can do it better. You go like, okay, yes, okay, how do I make this better? You're right. I'm not doing this correctly. And how to approach it in a way of like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, thank you for sharing that with me. And then playing with it yourself to see how that fits for you in a very specific way that's right for you. And I think interestingly and obviously is because I had never had this rank before of second degree black belt, it was really fascinating to watch how comfortable and complacent we can get with what is familiar for us. I've had the first degree for a couple years. And in this big push for this next level, it's uncomfortable. It was pain ridden with the injuries. And it had me pushed outside of my comfort zone. And it was fascinating to watch how I would talk with my girlfriend in the meditation or martial arts dojo. And I would explain to her, gosh, never even thought about accomplishing, achieving second degree. I was clearly satisfied and happy to get my first degree black belt. I was complete. I was done. I felt I could retire and go off and die and be happy, right? It was an end for me because it was a huge goal in my mind. And when I reached it, it was like, okay, I'm done. Being a black belt allowed you access to certain workshops that sensei would put out for specific black belt, practitioners. When I had this discussion with her, she would mention how she was very content being thank you. Thank you is right below brown belt. And it's the specific rank as a female where you in Aikido can wear the skirt. or you can wear the really baggy skirts. And it's like, I just want to touch you. So it's just fascinating to hear the levels that people strive for and set as a goal and or also possibly a limitation for themselves. Because for me, my goal slash limitation was first degree, and I was trying to coast after that. And so this is the beautiful positive benefits of having teachers in your life that continue to push you outside of your comfort zone, um, and push you outside of the beliefs of what you think are we aren't. So in coming across this big push of I don't even want the second degree, I had to really look deeply at the fears of annihilation, the fears of ego death, right? Fear of losing what is currently comfortable and familiar to peek over into the space and place of the unknown. And I can sit here today and wholeheartedly say that every bit of it was worth it. No. And including the injuries, including all the turmoil, all the uh, fears that I had to navigate through and break through in beliefs that were really long held within my own being. And I share that with you to say, for all the things that we want in life, and we're going after them, and then we reach them, don't stop there. It's there is so much more. You know, as my teacher has said, there is always more. And yes, there is. But I was really content with the degree black belt. I really was happy to just float in the ocean like a baby otter on my back. But the awesome thing of having accomplished and completed my second degree black belt is I genuinely feel like I've entered into another country. Right? I literally am looking around and I'm seeing new things to explore, new things I want to learn, new things I want to try. And I found that I have more tools at my disposal because I've gained even more set of tools to use in this last recent summit, right? Of how to cultivate inner balance, right? How to work through maybe mental afflictions, confusion, the fears, the insecurities, the vulnerabilities, and having those tools now with me, it really feels like this exploration, this time for exploration. So if you are moving in a direction in your life where you've reached maybe certain goals and now you're ready to level up to the next level, maybe asking for a raise at work, getting a new position, finding a new job completely, looking for a relationship, whatever that next level is for you, consider all the things that have gotten you to where you are and look at what those pieces and tools are that you can continue to utilize to help you reach the next one. And in between all of that, how do you cultivate a deeper relationship within yourself as you're making that come? Because that was the final piece in my uh, for second degree was initially being very focused on all the different attackers, all the different variables outside of myself that I had no control of, which would bring so much anxiety within myself because it was out of my control, and I like control. And that initial hyper focus of outward things completely changed and shifted such that I would say probably starting this year when I was training for the second degree, the focus shifted inward and it became about how do I hold my structure? How do I utilize my breath to have the correct body conditioning of power and effectiveness and fluidity to meet whatever is coming at me from an attacker or a weapon or anything that is placed in front of me. And that's what I want to leave with you guys of that up leveling refinement piece has been for me. Initially, we start with setting down the four cornerstones of practice. And we practice in such a way where we see it affect all the things around us. Maybe we're able to have our own place because we can afford the rent and we have nice things. Right? It starts to see these external influence from what your practice has done for you. And it's very easy to get caught up in the external pieces around you, like, oh, I want this to go a certain way, and we get possibly maybe in a control of recognizing how powerful we can be at influencing our environment and relationships. And I would say that I have found when we come back to ourselves and adjust and correct and align what needs to be aligned within our system, strengthen what needs to strengthen, let go and release what needs to release, that that inward focus allows us to level up in greater and greater ways, right? And the truth of it is the quote and story I'm sure you guys have heard is the monk who chopped wood and carried water before enlightenment, and afterwards they chop wood and carry water after enlightenment. Nothing changes externally, and yet everything has changed inwardly. And in that inward change, it also affects your outward life.